Say who? Say Willie. Say hey. Say who? Swinging at the plate. Say hey. Say who? Say Willie. That giant kid is great.
This is Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
You may be asking, how did he get the nickname the Say Hey Kid?
Hey, when he was a kid, he was known as Buck. When he first broke into
Yes.
the Negro Leagues, that's what everybody called him, was Buck.
He always boasted that he relied, this is from the Alabama Daily News, he relied on his own instincts and not of any coach when deciding whether to try for an extra base, which I love.
Yeah, I'm going to do this on my own.
Sports writer Barney Kremenko has often been credited with nicknaming him the Say Hey Kid, referring to Mays' spirited way of greeting his teammates.
Hey!
Say hey!
Say hey!
Say hey! And the writer nicknamed him the Say Hey Kid. It stuck. And Willie Mays. I mentioned there's a game today. It's the Cardinals and the Giants. They're playing in Birmingham at Rickwood Field. Again, go watch the video. It's 5 minutes. It's really well done.
It's going to be really cool to see that today. It's at 4:15 on Fox.
There's sneaky couple of baseball things on today that I'm interested in. The Mariners have a getaway day at 10 a.m.
Big series, going for the win.
Going for the win against the first place Guardians. And then at 4, we've got this one, which I want to see the aesthetic. They've redone Rickwood Field. It looks awesome. In that piece, though, he played for the Black Barons, not the Barons. He was so good that they largely outdrew the Barons.
Yeah.
There were more people that wanted to watch the Black Barons than the Barons, even though the Barons refused to integrate the Black Barons into their own team.
Yes.
And there was a really good piece. I think it's a Birmingham College, plays there for their home games. Half the team is black and half the team is white.
How about that?
And it's Miles College. Thank you. And it's
How cool would that be to go to college there and that's your home field?
Yeah, well, it was really cool listening
That's
to just
awesome.
look where we are now, look where we were when this was used once upon a time. So if you got nothing to watch, I think it's going to be like the cornfield in Iowa, something to turn on, and a large reason for that is because of the guy we're talking about, Willie Mays.
I think this is a really cool initiative that baseball has done. I don't know if they just didn't have the infrastructure to do it for the full weekend. My only bummer is it's just one game. It's today, and then they have a weird travel day tomorrow, and then they play the last 2 games of the series in St. Louis. It's like you couldn't do a 3-game series there, really?
I wonder if you changed that, because you do get people dirt interested. Like, I'm not saying I would have gone this year, but, man, watching that piece, the Negro League stats being involved in and now being a part of Major League Baseball history, it makes me, as a sports fan, an older sports fan, it makes me want to have like a trip where I can go and say, oh yeah, I'm going to go to that game, that specialty series at Rickwood Field.
Well, and I don't think you can overstate what these guys meant, not just in terms of athletics. And it's not just Willie Mays. Hank Aaron was this way, and we just lost him recently. It was a couple years ago that Hank Aaron passed away. What these guys meant culturally, because you point out the Black Barons and what they did in Birmingham and how they would draw. And it was largely because they had this kid named Willie Mays who was incredible. And I want to go watch this guy. He plays in a style that I've never seen somebody play baseball. I'm going to go watch them over the boring, Birmingham Barons. And having African Americans in the 1950s become cultural icons and become cool and become figures that everybody looked up to, no matter your race, your color, where you're from. Like, I want to play the game like Willie Mays. I want to be like the Say Hey Kid and wear number 24 and catch balls over my shoulder or behind my back as I'm warming up during batting practice. That was really, it was massive for race relations and for looking at people not just based on the outward color of their skin, but who they are and what their abilities were and the kind of people that they were. And, Swag kind of touched on this as he got older. If there was ever anybody, and Willie Mays is just one of the many who can be included in this, that would have a gripe and something to be angry about and pissed off at the world because of what they had to go through, it's these guys who were, early in their days not allowed to play in Major League Baseball or weren't signed to the same team, even though they were better than 99% of the guys that were playing on that side, which is why it was long overdue that they finally incorporated the Negro League stats. But if anybody could have had a gripe at the world and been angry at what the hand that they were dealt, it was this lot of baseball players and many African Americans from that generation. And so many of them weren't. And Willie Mays always had a smile on his face. He loved the game of baseball. He was always around the Giants organization. There have been so many cool stories that have come out the last couple of days from Giants players from different eras, from when I was a kid to Giants players now, of how he will show up occasionally, spring training in San Francisco. He would come into the clubhouse and just sit down. And guys would just flock around him and just ask him questions and pepper him with stuff and want to know all of his perspectives. And he wore that same Giants hat, it felt like, for 40 years with the cursive G, never changed it, whether he was on Air Force One with the president or sitting in a clubhouse in spring training. He always wore that hat. He always loved being a Giant, and he will be very missed.
Buster Olney says he should be the logo.
He should. He should.
What logo is what I'm wondering? Like, what's the silhouette? I think Olney said the catch, and I don't know if he's wrong.
No, you got to go swing. You got to go base.
You got to go swing.
You got to go swing.
Okay.
Like if you looked up a picture of his follow through on his swing, it would make a sweet logo.
Do you think they're legitimately going to consider it?
Probably not.
I don't think so either.
I like what the NBA's done, and I don't know if baseball's done this, so I might be mistaken on it. Like the NBA does the Bill Russell Finals MVP.
The World Series MVP is named after Willie Mays.
Okay, there you go.
That was a few years ago.
I couldn't remember if they did that or not. So that was really cool. Like for a lot of people in our generation, the best, if you take steroids out of it, because I think Bonds is one of the greatest of all time, but that's fine. You want to take him out. Like Griffey for our generation is probably the best baseball player we ever got to see, and very similar style of player. Somebody put this together yesterday. More hits, more home runs, more RBIs, 200 more stolen bases, a 20-point higher batting average, higher on-base percentage, more higher slugging percentage, OPS plus, more MVPs, more batting titles, more Gold Gloves, more All-Star games, and more championships.
Oh, and he missed 2 to 3 years when he fought
in the Korean War.
That's right.
The Korean War.
Yeah.
Korean War. He left to go fight in the Korean War.
He's considered. Well, I don't. Baseball is such a hard sport. We had somebody ask about dominance with athletes, and maybe we'll get into that just for funskis today, but I was wondering with baseball, it's such a unique, different sport than the others. I don't know if you can pinpoint a GOAT. I don't. I'm not that it really
Everybody will
matters,
have a different take,
But is he probably the most regarded GOAT, or do you think we're aging to a point where
you start stacking up all the accolades, his longevity, all of his stats, and it's hard to argue.
I mean, he was a true 5-tool player, and I think in order to be considered the GOAT, you have
12
to be
12 Gold Gloves.
12 Gold Gloves. He stole almost 400 bases. I mean, just 660 home runs. One of my biggest what ifs from my childhood was my dad used to take us on trips like spring break, summer. Every other year it'd be down to Arizona to go to see the Giants play in spring training, or let's go down to San Francisco. Let's check out the city. He just wanted
your
to
mom was jacked about those ideas.
Just wanted to go see a Giants game. We were in San Francisco when Bonds passed Willie Mays and hit number 661, and I still have the newspaper from when he did it.
You?
But we went to the game. We were only going to go to one game because I think it's like we're not going to 3 straight baseball games while we're here for a weekend. And we went to the game the night before it happened.
Oh,
and the next day he broke the. So we were there at least to get the newspaper and have it, but I missed it by a day.
Did you see Willie? Like, did you point him out in the stand? Did you see him at all?
He was in. I think he was in like a suite. So I think they showed him on the jumbotron. You're like he waved and everybody cheered and stuff. But it was like, God, I missed it by one day.
He was never a Met. That never happened.
Never happened.
He was only a Giant.
Never happened.
Never a Met, okay? Let's just remember that part of him. R.I.P. Willie Mays, one of the greatest to ever lace him up.